My concern is doing away with whiteness. Whiteness is a form of racial oppression, sure. The suggestion is that it is somehow possible to separate whiteness from oppression, and it is not. There can be no white race without the phenomenon of white supremacy. If you abolish slavery, you abolish slaveholders. In the same way, if you abolish racial oppression, you do away with whiteness. Treason to whiteness is loyalty to humanity.
Your views are fairly well received in academia.
Yes, they're legitimate, not to say that everyone agrees, but sure. I could not point to any examples where it has provoked political censorship. Whiteness is an identity that arises entirely out of oppression. Whiteness is not a culture, it's not a religion, it's not a language, it's simply an oppressive social category. Blackness is an identity that can be plausibly argued. Black studies is the study of a people that has formed itself in resistance to its oppression. And the task is to bring this minority together in such a way that it makes it impossible for the legacy of whiteness to continue to reproduce itself.
Let me jump on to Brandon Hasbrook. He says that, and this, of course, is tangential, intimately so, but things we can't talk about. This is a stream of thought in anti-Whiteism that is not new, but people are responding as though it's new. And so I just very briefly have to say what this guy said is that, let's see, I have the quote from Reuters, and I'm reporting on what Reuters reported, not reporting on what this guy said. Reuters reported that he said that the votes of Black Americans should count twice. That counting their votes twice is reparations, and for the purpose of empowering these people, Black people, to replace the, quote, oppressive institutions with life-affirming structures of equality. That is what Reuters reported on this Brandon Hasbrook, professor of law, saying, I'm reporting on what Reuters reported, and this is not a new stream of thought among the anti-whites. It's been a part of anti-whiteism for a very long time. We can talk about it later. Travis Stock's coming up, and the only thing I'm going to say about that is we are running out of time for the first hour, is that they're going to have a policy seminar called Whiteness, a Problem for Our Time. What is it about this? Well, we already know that it's going to be a bunch of anti-whites getting together. They're going to be talking about anti-whiteism. How do we victimize Western kind and Western civilization? They'll be using different words, of course. They'll be using the myths of pretext, moralized, intellectualized, sentimentalized excuses to arrive at those outcomes of victimizing Western kind and Western civilization. But what do we not do? We do not ever use the term whiteness. These people announced this whiteness policy seminar, and I saw a slew of people in the white positive sphere using this anti-white slur, whiteness. Well, if you are Noel Ignatiev's bitch, because he was the one who popularized this, if you're a good little bitch and you sit on Noel Ignatiev's lap in death, you go and worship at his crypt, well, maybe you can use whiteness and it's forgivable. But if you care about Western kind, if you care about Western culture, if you care about Western civilization, you do not use the anti-white slur whiteness, not because Jason said not to use it, but because logic says not to use it. If you have a problem with logic, then you need to consult him, not me. If you have a problem with logic, you need to go and argue your case to logic, not argue your case to me. Whiteness means a couple of things. It means white people, and simultaneously, it means oppression. It has been stated so, written into tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of theses, doctoral theses, taught in class, in books, etc., in corporate codes. That's what it means. But it also even means that the white race, paradoxically, doesn't exist. So whiteness is the white race, oppression, and the white race not existing. This is a lexical and a dialectical trap. If you walk into it, it is because you are dumb. So if you heard me, if you've never heard of this before, you never heard of me talking about whiteness before, and you've walked into it in the past, then you could be forgiven, you could be redeemed. It's part of going free from the anti-white narrative. But now that you know, if you continue to say whiteness, you simply are stupid because it is a trap for you. What are you doing if you oppose what when they are anti-whiteness and you oppose that? What does that make you for? I got to talk about this again and again and again. It makes you for oppression. We do not allow anti-whites to decide what we create. We don't create whiteness. We create Western culture. We create Western civilization. If you have fallen into the trap of constructing sentence structures, whether written or oral, where you would need a substitute for the word whiteness, then break away from that construction and use a construction where you are saying that we create, as Western kind, Western culture, Western civilization. When they say they want to eradicate whiteness, you say, I see, you want to eradicate Western kind and Western civilization. You do not say, I want to preserve, I want more whiteness. No, you want more Western culture, more Western civilization. Do you see how this works? How does that also benefit you? Well, we're told all the time that we don't have a culture. So if you're out there saying that I want more Western culture, not less, that means there is something called Western culture. You are combating their narrative with our narrative. Or you can continue to be a puppet, a marionette, or have their hand, anti-white's hand up your ass, working your mouth, and you're saying, you want more whiteness. Don't say whiteness. And I'll debate anybody on that as well. And if your feelings are hurt by it because you've heard me say this and you want to keep using it, then it's your problem. Get a therapist.
I don't have that lived experience, so I would rather listen to those who do and to their suggestions for what next, what practical and, if necessary, legislative changes will make things better, rather than charge in here in all my whiteness with some 10-point plan.